Why do your shoulders feel tense first thing in the morning? Why does your neck never seem to truly loosen up? Why does the tension persist? Why does your eye suddenly twitch even after a full night's sleep? And why do so many people clench or grind their teeth at night, unaware that their body is sending a critical signal? Most believe these issues are just normal results of stress, poor posture, or aging. But what if the true cause lies somewhere else entirely? What if your body has been telling you for months or even years that a vital mineral is missing? And what if this exact deficiency is why your muscles can never fully relax? I'm Dr. Andrew Parker, and in this video I'll show you why chronic tension, jaw pressure, eye twitches, leg cramps, and even heart palpitations often share the same root cause. Most people focus on stretching, massages, heating pads, better pillows, ergonomic chairs, but often they are only fighting the symptoms. The root cause remains, because the problem starts deep within your muscle cells. To understand this, we first need to talk about calcium. Yes, the same calcium most people associate only with bones. Almost everyone thinks calcium is mainly for strong bones and healthy teeth. But the truth is quite different. In fact, about 99% of calcium activity in the body is used for cellular communication. Calcium is one of the most important signaling molecules. Every single heartbeat requires calcium. Every movement of your eyes requires calcium. Every nerve impulse and every muscle contraction requires calcium. As you're listening to me right now, billions of small biological processes are firing in your body at exactly the right rhythm, and calcium plays a central role. But here's the problem. Calcium doesn't just contract muscles. It must also be removed from muscles to relax. This is exactly where many people run into trouble, because if calcium stays in a muscle cell, the tension stays too. The result? A muscle that feels constantly hard, tense, shortened, sensitive, immobile. And that is what many experience every day, especially in the neck area, particularly in the trapezius muscle. That's the large muscle extending from the base of the skull, across the shoulders, and down the upper back. Many people massage this area daily, but the tension always comes back. Why? Because the problem doesn't start in the muscle itself. It starts in the biochemistry. Imagine a light switch. Calcium turns the muscle on. But who turns it off? This is where magnesium comes in. Magnesium is the unsung hero. If calcium triggers the contraction, your body needs magnesium to initiate the relaxation. Without magnesium, this process cannot function efficiently. The muscle remains in a way in on mode, and that's exactly why tension develops. The longer this lasts, the worse the problem becomes. Many notice small signs first, maybe an occasional eyelid twitch, maybe shoulders that tense up faster than they used to, maybe leg cramps at night, or grinding your teeth in your sleep. You might wake up with jaw pain. These symptoms seem harmless at first, but they are vital clues to a deeper imbalance. To understand why this happens, we must look inside the muscle cell. When a muscle contracts, calcium floods into the muscle cell. This happens quite easily. Calcium follows a natural concentration gradient, like water flowing downhill. The muscle gets the signal to contract. Tension is created, but the problem starts with relaxation, because now the calcium must be actively pumped back out of the muscle cell, and for that, the body needs energy. This energy comes from ATP. ATP is the universal energy currency of every single cell, but ATP cannot do its job efficiently without magnesium. Magnesium is required for ATP to function correctly. Without it, the process stalls. Calcium stays longer where it shouldn't. The muscle stays tense. And that is why a magnesium deficiency can cause so many different issues. Not just muscle tension, but also eye twitches, tension headaches, jaw clenching, grinding teeth, muscle cramps, sleep problems, nervousness, and even heart palpitations. Most people treat each of these separately. One solution for the neck, another for sleep, another for the heart. But sometimes all these symptoms are connected, and that's why this topic is so often overlooked. The symptoms look different on the surface, but in reality, they can share the same origin. It becomes especially interesting when we understand why some people still suffer from tension despite exercise, good diet, and stretching. We realize muscle tension isn't always a mechanical problem. It's often a biochemical one. And that's exactly what we'll discuss in the next section. Once you understand what's actually happening with calcium and magnesium, you'll see your body's signals in a whole new light. When most people think of magnesium, they think of a mineral that might be nice for the body, something you might take as an extra, something that might help with leg cramps. But the reality is much more impressive. Magnesium is one of the most important minerals of all. In fact, magnesium is involved in several hundred enzymatic processes. Without magnesium, practically every cell in the body would have difficulty performing its tasks correctly. And that's exactly why the effects of a deficiency can be so diverse. The fascinating thing is, that many people have a magnesium deficiency without knowing it. Your blood levels can even appear completely normal, because the body desperately tries to keep magnesium levels in the blood constant. If necessary, it pulls magnesium from reserves in muscles, tissues, and even from the bones. This often creates a hidden deficiency that remains undetected for a long time, and this can lead to muscles remaining permanently tense. To understand why this happens, we need to briefly talk about energy. Every single muscle cell requires ATP. ATP is the energy source that drives practically every movement in the body. Without ATP, you couldn't move a finger. Think a thought, generate a heartbeat, perform a single muscle relaxation. But here's a detail many don't know. ATP alone is not enough. For ATP to work at all, it must be bound to magnesium. In other words, the biologically active form of ATP is magnesium ATP. Without magnesium, ATP loses a large part of its effectiveness. This means that even if energy is present, the body cannot use it optimally. And this is where the problem with so-called stuck calcium begins. Remember, calcium activates muscle contraction. Magnesium helps to remove the calcium again. If magnesium is missing, this process becomes slower and more inefficient. The muscle cell remains partially contracted. You feel the result as neck tension, shoulder tension, jaw pressure, muscle hardness, restricted movement, muscle twitching. Many people believe that muscle tension is caused exclusively by stress. And indeed, stress plays a role, but often not in the way most think. Stress consumes magnesium. Every time the body releases stress hormones, the demand for magnesium increases. This applies to emotional stress, for sleep deprivation, for chronic worries, for inflammation, for diseases, for heavy physical strain, for high sugar intake, for alcohol consumption, for certain medications. Modern lifestyle often creates a magnesium deficit. Particularly interesting is the connection between magnesium and the nervous system. Many people live permanently in fight or flight mode. The body then behaves as if there is a constant danger. The nervous system remains tense. The muscles remain tense. The pulse rises more easily. Sleep becomes shallower. Regeneration worsens. And this is where magnesium again shows its enormous importance. Magnesium acts like a natural brake for an overactive nervous system. It helps to calm excessive nerve activity. Therefore, many report improvements in inner restlessness, sleep problems, muscle tension, heart palpitations, and nervousness. But the connections go even further. Let's look at medications. Some of the best-known blood pressure medications belong to the group of calcium channel blockers. This name alone reveals something interesting. These drugs influence the action of calcium. Why? Because excessive calcium activity can be associated with increased blood pressure. Of course, magnesium does not replace medical treatment, but the existence of such drugs impressively shows the central role of balance in the body. There are even neurological drugs whose mechanisms of action partly resemble the properties of magnesium. This again illustrates how important it is for brain, nerves, and muscles. Now we come to an area that affects millions: tension headaches. Many sufferers focus on the pain itself, but the problem often begins much earlier. The muscles in the neck area harden, the shoulders pull up, the back of the head becomes increasingly strained. Circulation changes, tension rises. Finally, headache. The trapezius muscle is particularly frequently involved. This muscle is often underestimated. Many people think it's only on top of the shoulders. In fact, it extends from the back of the head over the entire upper back to about the level of the 12th thoracic vertebra. It connects numerous movements, and that's exactly why chronic tension in this muscle can have far-reaching effects. It gets even more interesting when we look at posture. Sitting for hours makes certain muscle groups weaker, especially the lower parts of the trapezius often lose strength. The upper areas have to do more work. The result, permanent tension. Many people spend years in this state. They think their shoulders are just always hard, but it's often a combination of lack of movement, poor posture, chronic stress, and magnesium deficit. This combination can create a vicious cycle. Tense muscles promote stress signals. Stress consumes more magnesium. The cycle continues. In the next section, we'll talk about another amazing factor. Magnesium follows a daily curve, and this natural rhythm could explain why certain complaints occur particularly frequently in the early morning hours. We'll also talk about heart attacks and kidney stones. Stay tuned. Magnesium's role in protecting the heart can hardly be overstated. It helps keep the heart rhythm stable and relaxes blood vessels, reducing pressure on the system. Studies suggest that optimal magnesium supply can reduce the risk of strokes by reducing inflammation in the vessels and positively influencing blood clotting. Particularly at night, when magnesium levels naturally drop, those well-known leg cramps often occur. This is a direct signal that the body's stores are empty. Magnesium even plays a role in preventing kidney stones by inhibiting the crystallization of calcium oxalate in the urine, an often overlooked protective mechanism. In summary, magnesium is far more than just a supplement. It's the ignition key for your energy and the calm for your nerves. Take care of your body until next time. Now it gets particularly exciting, because magnesium is not only important for muscles, nerves, and the heart. It also follows a natural biological rhythm. Just like cortisol, just like melatonin, just like your body temperature. Magnesium also changes throughout a 24-hour day, and this fact could explain why many complaints occur at very specific times. Studies show that magnesium often reaches its lowest point in the early morning hours, exactly when many people suddenly wake up, exactly when calf cramps occur, exactly when heart problems are more frequent, and exactly when many people get out of bed with a stiff neck or tense shoulders. This is no coincidence. Your body works around the clock to balance minerals, hormones, and energy reserves. However, if there is already a magnesium deficiency, this natural low point is particularly noticeable in the early morning. You might know this. You go to bed somewhat relaxed in the evening, but in the morning you feel like a board. The neck is stiff, the shoulders hurt, the back feels immobile, the calves feel tense. Many people then suspect they have slept wrong, but sometimes there is something else behind it. The body simply does not have enough magnesium at that moment to optimally maintain all muscle relaxation processes. This is especially evident with nighttime calf cramps. Millions of people know this feeling. In the middle of the night, a sudden sharp pain shoots through the calf. The muscle hardens. You jump out of bed. Stretch the muscle. Try to walk. Sometimes it takes minutes for the muscle to calm down again. Often this is seen as a normal age-related problem. However, a magnesium deficiency can actually be one of the most important factors, because again, it is the same underlying issue. Calcium activates contraction. Magnesium supports relaxation. If magnesium is lacking, the muscles can more easily remain in a tense state. But magnesium does not only affect the muscles, it also plays a crucial role for the heart. Every heartbeat is based on a precise interplay of electrical signals. These signals must be coordinated exactly. Even small disturbances can contribute to heart palpitations or arrhythmias. Many people report a feeling as if the heart suddenly skips a beat, or beats slightly faster, or becomes irregular. Of course, there are numerous possible causes for this, which should always be medically clarified. However, magnesium is one of the most important minerals for the electrical stability of the heart. That is why it has been intensively researched in the field of heart health for decades. Interestingly, heart attacks and strokes also occur particularly frequently in the early morning hours. There are several reasons for this. Among other things, blood pressure and stress hormones rise in the morning. At the same time, magnesium is often at its lowest daily level. This combination can further burden the body. Of course, this does not mean that magnesium alone prevents heart attacks or strokes. but it shows how important a healthy mineral balance is for overall cardiovascular function. Now we come to another surprising topic: kidney stones. Most people believe that kidney stones are solely a calcium problem. However, the reality is much more complex. Many kidney stones are made up of calcium oxalate. However, this does not automatically mean that too much calcium has been consumed. In fact, many experts observe that people with kidney stones often also show a magnesium deficiency. Why? Because magnesium can help regulate calcium better. When magnesium is lacking, the likelihood increases that calcium ends up where it doesn't belong. And this pattern is exactly what we see in many places in the body. Calcium is vital. Without calcium, we could not live. The problem is not calcium itself. The problem is calcium in the wrong place. In the muscles, it can contribute to tension. In the joints, it can promote unwanted deposits. In the arteries, it can be involved in calcification processes. In the kidneys, it can become part of kidney stones. That's why it's not about demonizing calcium. It's about establishing the right balance. And this is where another important nutrient comes into play: vitamin K2. You may have already heard of vitamin K2. In recent years, this vitamin has gained increasing attention, and for good reason. Vitamin K2 helps transport calcium to the right places, especially in bones and teeth. At the same time, it supports processes that prevent calcium from unnecessarily depositing in soft tissues. But here comes a detail that many people do not know. Vitamin K2 also relies on magnesium. Magnesium acts as an important cofactor. This means, even if there is sufficient vitamin K2, certain processes may be less efficient if magnesium is lacking. You are slowly recognizing the pattern. Magnesium does not stand alone in isolation. It simultaneously influences countless biological systems: muscles, nerves, heart, sleep, blood pressure, energy production, vitamin activation, calcium regulation. And that's exactly why a deficiency can cause so many different symptoms. But there is another factor that is often overlooked: the internal environment of your body, your metabolic milieu, your acid-base balance. Because this also affects how effectively magnesium and calcium can perform their tasks. In the next section, we will discuss why a modern diet can impair the effects of magnesium, why many people continue to experience discomfort despite supplementation, and which form of magnesium is actually best absorbed. You will also learn why most people make the biggest mistake when they try to treat their muscle tension solely with calcium supplements. After we have now understood how closely magnesium and calcium work together, the crucial question arises: why do so many people continue to suffer from muscle tension, cramps, eye twitches, or sleep problems despite taking supplements? The answer may surprise you, because many people focus on the wrong mineral. For years, we have been taught that we primarily need more calcium. Calcium for the bones, calcium against osteoporosis, calcium for health. And although calcium is undoubtedly important, the problem in modern societies often isn't that we have too little calcium. The problem is often that calcium is not properly regulated. If you look at the average diet, you will find calcium almost everywhere: dairy products, cheese, yogurt, fortified foods, mineral water. Numerous convenience products. Many people even take calcium supplements in addition. At the same time, magnesium often gets neglected. And that is exactly how the balance can be lost. Imagine calcium as the gas pedal of a car. Magnesium is the brake. Both are needed. No one would want to drive a car that can only accelerate. Similarly, your body does not want to constantly receive signals for muscle tension without sufficient opportunities for relaxation. That is why magnesium is so crucial. But even here, many people make another mistake. They choose a form of magnesium that is poorly absorbed. Or they take too little. Or they expect results within a few hours. If you have had a magnesium deficiency for years, your body will not compensate for it overnight. Replenishing the stores takes time, patience, and consistency. Particularly interesting is the choice of the right magnesium compound. Because magnesium is not just magnesium. Some forms are relatively poorly absorbed. Others have a stronger effect on the intestines than on the actual magnesium supply. When it comes to muscle relaxation, the nervous system, and sleep, magnesium glycinate is one of the most popular forms. Why? Because it is particularly well bioavailable. The glycine content also brings its own advantages. Glycine is an amino acid that has calming properties and is also involved in numerous regeneration processes. Many people unconsciously consume too little glycine. Therefore, this combination can be particularly interesting. Now the question often arises, how much magnesium should one take? There is no blanket answer to this. The individual need depends on numerous factors: age, stress level, diet, medication intake, physical activity, sleep quality, existing symptoms. The official recommendations serve merely as minimum values to avoid severe deficiency states. However, they do not necessarily reflect the needs of someone who may have muscle cramps, chronic tension, or sleep problems. Therefore, many people report improvements only after they consistently optimize their magnesium intake over a longer period. Regularity is particularly important in this regard. The body often benefits more from several smaller portions spread throughout the day than from a single large dose. Another area that is often underestimated is absorption through the skin. You may have already heard of Epsom salt baths. Epsom salt contains magnesium sulfate. Many people report significant muscle relaxation after a warm bath. In fact, studies show that magnesium levels can measurably increase after such applications, especially people with muscle tension, sports strain, sleep problems. Calf cramps often find this method pleasant. The same applies to magnesium oil. This is not a real oil, but a concentrated magnesium solution. Many people apply it directly to tense areas: neck, shoulders, calves, back, feet. Even though the scientific discussion about the exact absorption through the skin is ongoing, many users report positive experiences. But here comes a crucial point. Magnesium alone is rarely the complete solution, because tense muscles are not only made up of biochemical processes. Mechanical factors also play a role. And that is why the combination of magnesium and targeted movement can be exceptionally effective. Especially the fascia deserves special attention here. For a long time, fascia were hardly noticed. Today we know that this connective tissue network runs through the entire body. It connects muscles, joints, tendons, ligaments, and it reacts very sensitively to lack of movement, stress, injuries, inflammations. When fascia lose their elasticity, tensions can arise that feel like muscle tension. That's why many people benefit from a combination of sufficient magnesium supply, targeted strength training mobility exercises, fascial work, better posture, stress reduction. Particularly important is the strengthening of the lower trapezius muscle. As mentioned before, many people spend hours in front of computers, smartphones, or televisions. This increasingly shifts the head position forward. Every centimeter of forward shift significantly increases the strain on the neck and shoulders. Over time, this leads to chronic overload. Even large amounts of magnesium cannot fully compensate for this problem if the posture remains permanently unfavorable. Therefore, the combination of biochemistry and movement is so effective. Let me summarize the most important message of this video in conclusion. If you regularly suffer from the following complaints: tight neck, stiff shoulders, eye-twitching teeth, grinding jaw pressure, muscle cramps, tension, headaches, heart palpitations, sleep problems, then do not consider these symptoms in isolation. Your body may be sending signals of a deeper imbalance. Calcium is essential for life, but calcium needs to be regulated, and this is where magnesium plays a central role. The better this balance works, the better muscles can relax, nerves can function, and cells can communicate. Your body speaks to you every day. The only question is, do you listen to its signals? If this video has helped you, please write in the comments below which of these symptoms you notice most frequently. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because in the next video I will show you more often overlooked warning signs that your body sends long before serious health problems. I am Dr. Andrew Parker. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.